called Frosty Dinghy, and I'm the dolphin, and you're the flounder.
Well, I guess. I think it should be Dr. Parker, but... Hello! It's a sun-soaked Flounder and Caged Dolphin here today for a new episode of Frosty Dinghy.
That is a nice visor line you got going on over there.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet. And the glasses line. So,
the glasses line's a bit more prominent, though. Yeah. I'm surprised.
But anyways, it's another fun episode. I don't think we have anything crazy to talk about. I think we're just going to mostly talk about the Scott Maschmann Memorial Golf Tournament.
Which was a
Did
good
I get
time.
It right?
It's Maschmann.
Was Scott Maschmann?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, Scott Maschmann. Yep. And his brother partner's the one that did most of the speaking for it. So what'd you think of your first golf outing in Montezuma?
That's a hell of a course, yo. It feels like it's old field with lots of terraces that they just kind of turned into a golf course. A lot of shots going to greens you couldn't see from tees. Like, if I was to just go there and play on my own, there'd be a lot of times where I'd probably drive halfway up the fairway to see where the hell the green was at to come back and hit my drive.
That's normally what you got to do on hole 2 to make sure that you're not hitting at people, which is the one that goes down to the left before you come back at that green that there's no possible way to hit on it with any kind of wood because your ball will skip off and go down the backside of the hill.
Yeah. So I thought it was fun. I had a blast playing with Steeler and his buddy, Mr. Stewart. It was not Cordell.
It's Rodney.
Then you throw in the two other groups we played with. It was a good time. I was pretty happy with how I shot, actually. I only played once last year, and my shoulders and stuff were so stiff that I couldn't hardly swing the club. It was almost embarrassing. So to go out and play as decently as I did yesterday, I felt pretty good. We started the round with a birdie. We ended the round with a birdie. As a team, I think we could have done better had we used our senior advantage, but I think not Cordell felt bad about being the only person that could hit from those tees, so he just chose not to. And he drove with us. I mean, it wasn't like he was driving as far as basically any of the rest of us besides the one guy. But had he played from the senior tees, I think it would have gave us a nicer advantage, but I don't think it would have mattered. I don't think we would have shot 19 under regardless.
No, I'm not 100% sure how you can shoot 19 under. They said they bought a string, and that was what saved them, which I'm guessing if you land anywhere inside the string, it counted as a made putt, I'm guessing what the string was for, because you could buy the advantages and everything in the clubhouse, and we just didn't spend the money for it.
Well, and I know the other teams bought a bunch of mulligans, which we did not. There was the throw from the fringe where you got to throw the ball up onto the green from where you're at for free. We didn't buy, which was kind of a neat rule, actually. But overall, I thought we all did fine. I thought it was a blast. I enjoyed meeting the coach of my new favorite 8-man football team in Iowa. So that's awesome. So yeah, and who knows? Maybe with the right connections, we could get him to come on here before the season. We can talk some Montezuma football with him right here on the Frosty Dinghy Show.
Well, that would definitely be interesting.
Because I'm sure there's nothing more than the people in Sweden want to hear about than the Montezuma 8-man football team.
I'm pretty sure it's high on our priority list because they made me in Montezuma, so that's the important part.
Well, I tell you what. So I don't know how many people caught the live, but right there on the second hole, the coach was sitting there. And I kind of did an impromptu interview with him, and he went right into football coach interview mode. It was pretty good. So it was fun. I enjoyed it
live yet, so I think I have the ability to. I think I have the ability to replay it, and if I can replay it, that means I might be able to download it and chop it up into clips and get it on the channel as well.
Nice.
But I have to check into that. I'm not 100% sure I can download them.
As far as the golf goes, Cubby, what was the favorite shot you hit during the meet?
I'm pretty sure it's the one where I didn't fall on my face. That was the most impressive thing that I did the entire the entire tournament. That nice little uphill stance. It was nice and slick and muddy, and I did a full swing with the old 3-wood, and we ended up using that shot, which was surprising. It went straight, and I went straight for the ground because my feet came out from underneath of me and somehow got back underneath of me just in time. And I think, according to Steeler's wife, it looked rather entertaining on the live. It's like, where'd he go?
Well, I also have not had a chance to go back and watch the live at all. I look forward to seeing that as one of our TikTok clips.
Oh, it's definitely going to make it if it's as entertaining as it felt, because it felt like I used muscles I haven't seen in 40 years.
Yeah. So I know for myself, my favorite shot that I hit was actually the last drive of the day. I know it's just a short par 4, but it's a long ways uphill, and I really cranked on that ball, and I left it just short of the green, 3 yards off the green. I think the best shot of the day that we had, and you might have been in the bathroom when it happened, but not not Cordell on the par 3. We were a couple yards off the green and probably 15, 20 yards from the pin, and he chipped it in for the birdie. That was pretty spectacular also.
That was a great shot, but the level of enthusiasm of everybody we were playing with went off the charts. Had the guy chasing him down like he was the kicker on the replacements, try to tackle him. And I kind of felt like John Madden going, well, if you can't handle the celebration, don't do great things.
That's right. That was a great moment. It was fun. So I wish, looking back at it, rather than trying to do live the whole time, I think maybe we should have just tried to set up the shots and have like a follow along for ourselves. You know what I mean?
I know what you're saying.
Turned it on, and maybe just turned it on. We were doing our own, because it was 3 hours per 9 holes. It was like a 6-hour round. It took for fucking ever. So maybe had we stopped it when we're driving and waiting and not doing anything, probably would have helped. Power banks, I guess, could have helped, but all in all, it was a blast. If you're watching from the live, thanks for watching, and sorry it died.
Well, we knew it was going to die when we started out on the course anyway. The only thing that I think that we should have done a little bit different on the live is figure out how to keep it more interactive. Like you and I were playing golf, we needed to figure out how to get somebody else that could keep up with the comment section. I mean,
yeah, absolutely.
We couldn't do what we were doing and stay on top of any of the comments or anything else that was going through on the follows and the likes and stuff like that. But if we had like a moderator or something like that, it would have been different. But it being the first live, we don't have those yet. So we will get there and it'll get better. Like we'll have another shot at it here shortly, because we'll end up going live the whole time on that too, which should be a little bit easier because I won't be the one swinging golf clubs.
And I tell you what, I'm looking forward to Rock and Row. The greatest wife in the world and the awesome kids are coming with. In fact, I believe I think my wife's got some friends that are going to meet us there also, be camping and doing the float with us, and I assume watching the music, all that. They're going to be there, go up. I think it's kind of fun how quickly I have become a cheerleader for things that we've done because of the show. Iowa Distilling Company is basically my brew of choice now, or distiller of choice.
And they've started putting out some pretty good TikToks here lately too, where they're actually filling the bottles.
They did. Well, they got to do better than what I'm doing for them. They're the company. I'm just the guy who's drinking the stuff. So they can't be like, this drunk dude's doing better TikToks than we are. We got to fix this.
Well, it's hard to beat you. Just saying.
Yeah. So we got we might need to see if we can get them to bottle a couple special bottles for us of plastic bottles, being glass is not allowed at the Rock and Row Adventures campground. Or I can just throw it in like one of the old, 1970s Kool-Aid jars or something.
We can go buy a bottle of Hawkeye and dump it out,
Yeah,
and make sure you
yeah.
know
Need some
clean that fucker out because that's just nasty.
Yeah, need some plastic bottles, something. But
We'll just get
no,
one
and
of those
then
little squirt bottles with the little old Gatorade
yeah,
squirt bottles.
there you go. Yeah, so that and now our favorite 8-man football team, Montezuma football. I'm assuming during football season we're going to have updates weekly because our fans are going to request it. They're going to want to know how the Montezuma football team is doing.
Well, at least you
So
will. You will definitely get that update.
what is Montezuma? Are they the Warriors or the Indians or what?
They're the
What are
Braves.
they?
They're Braves.
The Braves. I was close.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey,
I
a
was
Brave
just
is a Warrior. Just saying.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah,
So
it
I
was
don't
a
think
good
we
time.
put enough emphasis on the final score that we had compared to the final score that won it, because the final score that won it was ridiculous. It's like what, when we
Yeah,
used to play in tournaments and just, oh yeah, we got a 2 on that hole. Because 19 under, that's -1 on every hole plus 1 that you were 2 under on.
well,
And
and
I
so I
know it's
mean,
a par 4 best ball, but
yeah, that's just the thing. If you got a good group of golfers and it's a 4-man best shot, you probably should be birdieing every hole, to be honest with you, because one of you should be hitting a good drive, one of you should be putting it close, and one of you should make a putt. So,
well, we were with a team who hasn't played, well, other than the Stewart, who haven't played like hardly at all, and we still shot
right.
5 under, and we ended up 5
Yeah,
under.
no, I was happy with how we did. The bogey we got was disappointing, but that's on us, We should have trained harder and longer beforehand to be able to swing. And it's just
Well,
the sun being down on us. We were getting tired. We
the
finished
the
well,
food at the turn saved
but
me because I was going down. The food brought me back. So,
yeah, so
and the water.
it was a blast. It was a blast. It was a lot of fun. Glad we did it. I can't wait for the next one next year. I don't know if you have it up, but we got a picture of me and Steeler and not Cordell standing there with the Frosty Dinghy flag. I thought it was
All
really
right.
cool I thought it was really cool. It wasn't just a yard sign that you got, but it was actual golf flag. They kept it so they could reuse it for next year, which is awesome.
Yep, we just gotta
So
make sure that we can all make it to it, and again next year. It
yeah,
shouldn't be
so that was
too hard
cool.
to plan around, but so I don't think I'm the one that has the picture, so you'll have to send me that one.
You took the picture. I was in the picture.
Yeah, but it was on your phone because mine was
Oh,
dead. So you have the picture.
All right. Well, I'll have to send it to you then.
There you go.
I'll have to find it.
My phone was dead because we were using it for the live.
That's right.
We had to take
So,
her on
yeah.
yours. And I think you got a picture of just the flag at one point too.
I
but I'm
might
not
have,
sure.
yeah. I'll take a look. If I have it, I'll send it to you.
It was nice that it was on hole number 1 too. So we were the number 1 sponsor.
Was that on hole 1?
Yeah, it was on hole 1. Hole 1 is
Nice.
the one that's got the sheds down the left-hand side.
Yeah, I remember the hole. No, I think, and that was the thing. You hit your drive, and then you have you only have 100 yards down to the green.
Yep.
But it's down to the green. It's 100 yards away, but it's probably 30 yards down.
Yeah,
Like
when
I said, this was
when I was playing
son
there
of
in
a
high
bitch.
school, we could drive it. We could drive the green back then because, I mean, it was usually super hot and dry, so that hill was super hard. And back then, we could actually hit the ball a long ways. Instead of our plopping her out there 250 now, we were hitting around 300, and that'd catch the hill and send it right down onto the green on the front edge of it anyway. There was one guy we played with that could hit it and leave divots in the damn thing.
The one guy was good. I mean, he was a good golfer.
Yeah.
I mean, and everybody there had a couple good shots at some point during the day, but the one guy was just spectacular. He really was. He was a good golfer.
Did you hear the comment that Earl made at him when he duff the ball and send it like 5 feet in front of him.
Something about like, oh, he is human.
He's like, "Oh, you are human."
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty funny. Some good times.
So,
And then I'm gonna I have to look, but I think Cody Hicks is actually a musician in the area.
yeah, I believe so.
I remember right. And for some reason, they put us with his group every time. I think they do it on purpose because we all have a great time and we seem to get along. So, and I told Beck, which is the coach, and I told my friend that works at the club, I'm like, we'll come back. Just make sure you keep pairing us with Cody because we have a blast. It's a great time.
Yeah, it was a good time. 10 out of 10 would do again.
And I'm sorry, but that picture is something that I never needed to see, let alone in the middle of a round of golf. Because
that was brutal. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know who would have liked it is my daughter. She has aspirations of being a surgeon. And so she would have actually really liked to have seen that. As someone who is not a surgeon, I thought it was pretty fucking gross.
And the fact that you're alive after what that was, and on top of being
taking a deer slug to the throat.
Yeah, that one, I'm like, holy jeebus, that could have been a big problem.
Yeah.
I don't know. I remember we had a kid in our high school that got, I think it was his dad that got hit while he was turkey hunting and had to stick his thumb in his armpit to stop the bleeding till he got to the hospital. I think it was his dad. But that's scary in its own right.
Damn.
When it's just, like a bird shot. But a deer slug, whew, those leave holes coming out. Like,
yeah,
big
that's
ones.
brutal.
So that on hole 9, do you like the tee box placement? That's that little par 3 right at the end that where Stewart chipped it in. Do you like the tee box placement on that one, or would you rather it be back where it used to be, down at the bottom?
No,
next to that green.
No, down the bottom sucked. It would have been a short par 3, but it would have been straight uphill. For being a par 3, I mean, obviously you can't make it perfectly level, but to have that big of an adulation in height, especially going uphill, would make that hole exceptionally hard. It's not that it's long, but it would have been so far uphill, so far fast. It's kind of like hole 10 in Newton. The par 3, it's only like, 170, 180, but it's downhill hard. Bet there's probably it's probably 100 feet below the tee box green, as if I had to guess. I remember playing the
Landon and Pella too. It has that one hole that's like 300 feet below it, the tee box.
Yeah, I remember playing the tips there in Newton when I used to play golf a lot and was good. And they had the blues all the way at the back, and literally you couldn't see the green from where we were teeing off at. You had to walk up, 5-10 yards to be able to see the green. That's how steep it was. I'm not a big fan of those. I don't care if you want to put a big goalie in between the green and the tee box. I'm fine with that. But
you say goalie?
And don't get me wrong. Yeah, a goalie.
Okay, I thought you said goalie. I'm like, what the fuck do you want a goalie out there for? Sorry, I just didn't hear you right.
Yeah, a goalie. But I would like fairly close height difference between. I mean, it doesn't have to be perfect. I mean, but when you're talking 100 feet difference, that's big.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you. What was your worst liked hole yesterday?
Because
you have that really long par 5, but that
was all right. That one was all right. That one, I don't think I think personally, if I'm shooting the way I was shooting 20 years ago when I was playing all the golf I was playing, I think that's a very manageable course. I probably don't have problems with any of the holes. Now I'm old and I barely play. That par 4 right before the par 5 feels a lot longer than what they say it is. Kind of going back by the cow pasture.
Yeah, hole 7. Yep, the one that runs along the fence.
Yeah, that hole feels a lot longer than it says it is. It's not that hard of a hole, really. It's just nothing tricky about it. It's just, I don't know if something got in our heads there or what, but it was it kind of messed with us.
Well, we all hit good drives on first time through. No, second time through.
Yeah, and then
we all hit good drives on it.
Yeah, and the second time, 3 of us hit it out of bounds, and Steeler put it right at the women's right at the women's tee box.
Yeah,
yeah. So it played exceptionally along the second round because of that.
Which I can't believe that I lost a shoe on that hole. It folded right under.
You did.
Trying to Happy Gilmore something. Yep. Glad the camera was off for that shit. But no, I think the hole that I dislike is always going to be hole 3, and that's because they put the green smack on top of the hill, and it's super hard to stick to it. That's the one that right there at the end that you put it right next to on the edge. But
yeah,
that's always been the hole that I haven't liked, because I had a tendency of hitting it either over it on my first shot or over it on my second shot. And once it comes off the backside of that green, it just rolls all the way to the bottom.
Well, and it kind of reminds me, I think it's hole 7 in Newton, where you tee off and then the second shot is uphill, and they got those twin bunkers in front of the green on that hole 7, which this one didn't have any bunkers, luckily, but that's what it kind of reminded me of. It wasn't your tee shot going up, or your second shot going uphill, it was just your tee shot. But I always thought they could have made that hole par 5 in Newton, and it still would have been a hard hole to par. It's a tough hole. And that's kind of how I mean, admittedly, I almost drove it the last time, but if you don't get it up that hill, you know, it's another one of those that final 50 yards is so far uphill, you can't really see the green, you can't really see the pin. The other group hit a pitch shot they thought was going to be close. They were pretty happy about it, and then they go up there, and it was 3 yards short.
Yeah.
So it's, you know, it's one of those courses. So
see, I thought you were going to say the par 3 that nobody could seem to land on the green on would have been the most painful course, because we're all hitting decent off the tee box, but everything landed left or short on that one.
Are you talking? What one was that? 9?
Right. It would have been 5. Yeah. Hole 5.
Okay.
It would have been the first par 3 that we would have played off of it. It's got a steep hill coming off the tee box, goes down, but the green is level with it.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So that one, so I missed the green there. I was probably 5-10 yards left, but you know, and like I said, that's one of those where it kind of has that gully between you and the green, where it looks like it's a pretty big drop, but it comes back up, so it's not as big of a drop as you would think. So I kind of liked that hole, really. I wish we had played it better, but I thought that was a pretty neat hole.
And that's what I was talking about. I'm like, that probably could have been our most frustrating hole if we would have let it get to us, because we all hit decent shots. It's just either we were online and we dropped it short, or we had the distance and we were just a little left. So, I mean,
yep.
Instead of putting one on, which nobody really put one on at all on that green.
Yeah, I don't think anybody in our group.
Too.
Yeah, tough choice.
Yeah, for the tractor.
So,
which surprisingly, if I remember the statistics on that course, that one has the most hole-in-ones on that golf course out of all of them.
I'd believe it because it's not. I think it's one of those things. The more you play that course, because of the way the hills and everything are, I think it's pretty easy to like not get scared of it, but like overanalyze it. And I think once you probably play the course several times, you realize, hey, I just have to hit my 8-iron in there and it'll be fine.
Yeah, but the Montezuma course is also one of those where they have really nice greens, and they spend their money to make sure the greens are good. The rest of it is Iowa hard ground golf for the most part, except for when it rains. I mean, but it's still a fun course to play. It's a little disappointed they wouldn't.
It was a good time,
but I think they would have had a complimentary dip in the pool every time around the clubhouse would have been great.
Yes,
or a drive-through spray off with the cart or something entertaining.
Yeah. They could have had a fire hose out there spraying everybody down and been just fine.
Do you see what Earl did on hole 2, where he paid that kid to get shot with the super soaker?
Yeah.
Only alumni could shoot that kid.
Well, so I was a little disappointed because they said you could shoot a coach or player. I was hoping that we're going to go with the former player, but that they didn't allow that. So. You were saved.
Yeah, I appreciate that part. But no, I made the kid hold on to
And
the end of the super soaker himself while I pushed it in. So really got blasted.
yeah,
I thought it was a good time.
yep. And I'm sure he didn't really mind because it was already starting to heat up. It was
Oh yeah, it was
getting
awful
warm
warm.
already, so it probably felt good.
So after we got done with the whole golf thing and talked to the coaches and got out of there, we ended up back at Diamond Lake. Have you ever been out there before? Fall asleep on me? Can't hear me?
No, you glitched. So I all I got was blah, blah.
So what I said was, after we got done talking to the coaches and got out of there, we ended up back at Diamond Lake. Have you ever been there before?
Yes, I'm sure we went fishing there once or twice 25 years ago. I don't think I know I've never camped there before. Nice campground. I thought it was kind of neat how they had so many camper spots literally right on the water. Like, my guess is if you backed up too far in a couple of those spots, you'll realize it when your tires are hitting the water.
So
I thought that
they
was
didn't
kind of
used to
cool.
have them designated around there. So you know how they have the sections for the campers around the lake marked off?
Yeah.
It didn't
Yep.
used to be that way. It was however much space you could take up with your camper was what you got. So they
Yeah.
changed
So,
it and made it a little bit more standardized on that part of it.
well, and the upper campground where we were at was really nice. I wish they had like a cutoff to walk down to the lake from where we were at. I didn't see one of those. Apparently there was one, but it was kind of out and around and away. But I mean, just the wildlife minus the bugs and ticks that I kicked off me yesterday. You know, we saw an owl last night kind of flying around. There was a mama deer and her fawn running around this morning. The fish jumping out the lake the whole time we were there. It was a good time.
So we did learn a valuable lesson. Do not freeze your hamburgers and try cooking on whatever kind of grill Earl's got. I mean, 'cause
Yeah.
that took some time. You
Yeah.
can't break
They tasted they ended up tasting pretty good. You said they're what, whiskey peppercorns from Fairway?
Yep. They were pretty good. The whiskey
Eh,
peppercorn burgers.
Yeah. Yep, they're pretty good. I admit I am a fan. Hy-Vee makes this. I think they call it a pub burger. It's 8-ounce hamburger. They're pretty spectacular, also.
I haven't tried it in many years, but there for a while the hamburger that they used there or bought had horrible flavor in Newton. But that doesn't mean it's like that everywhere, and that's why I've been firmly on Fairway for like the last 10 years.
Well, so and I mean I do love Fairway. I think Fairway has an excellent meat counter. I think their vegetables and fruits are good too. But those burgers that I get out of the Hy-Vee in Harlan are spectacular. They're really good. And I think, to me, I think like Hy-Vee especially, because I saw they just bought their own packaging plant. So they're going to be kind of doing more centralized meats, where they're going to be doing their own packing, in fact.
That should
So
help the quality a bit.
I think it's one of those things. Yeah, it should help the quality because obviously, you know, Des Moines has more people to choose from to be butchers than, you know, Harlan. I mean, I know Harlan itself thinks it's this huge town, but it really doesn't hold a candle to anything in Des Moines has, right?
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. Well,
but
and then
you know,
that's
and I
the
think
same
that's what
like when you go down. If
I,
you go down south, you got butchers everywhere, but up north, we really need to start, investing in getting us some better butchers up here and more of them, because most of
yeah,
them hang out in
and
the lockers and stuff now.
yeah, I think Hy-Vee is really starting to come along with doing more centralized stuff and shipping it to their stores rather than expecting every store to have like its own donut maker. I think here, like I think most of the Hy-Vees in this area get their donuts out of one store and they like, you know, I don't mean in Omaha or Council Bluffs. I think all of them are big enough they probably have their own donut makers and shit. But like all the little Hy-Vees at like Harlan and Creston and Corning and shit, these smaller Hy-Vees that don't have donut makers, I think they take stuff to them every day, and so it's giving more opportunity. You know, more. It's less jobs at Hy-Vee, but I assume it's probably not easy to keep a donut maker full time at Hy-Vee in Harlan, Iowa, or Corning, Iowa.
Yeah, Newton, I believe, has had pretty much the same kitchen staff, and for some reason, they all stay. Like when they come in the young age, they literally stay all the way through. So as one goes out, the next one just steps up here. Well, they have a good retention at this Hy-Vee. I know that for sure. But
well, and I think Hy-Vee really takes care of their customers. I really do. I mean, their employees. I remember when my wife was working for Hy-Vee and she got like her 5-year anniversary award, and they did like a big show they went over to Omaha for this area, and like the CEO was there, and he took pictures with everybody that was there for like a 5, 10, 15, 20-year anniversary deal. I I think they're a good employer. I think there's, if you're a younger student, like a high school student, you're looking for a job, I think that's a place where you could grow into being a manager, a general manager, or even higher in that company.
Yeah, I mean, they have great I think they have a great retirement fund, and I think you get a percentage of profits there too, if I'm not wrong, that they match going into your retirement fund there. So I heard it's a great place to work on that aspect of it anyway. And I also heard Fairway's a good place to work in Newton as well. But there's a lot of seasonal people that go through there, like the younger people, and then they go off to schools, and then they bring in more younger people, and then it's just the core group of the older people to train new people all the time. So it's a little bit different in that aspect.
Yeah.
But I do love the meat department at Fairway. There for a while, you had to, at least in Newton, you had to go to Hy-Vee if you wanted seafood. Well, now Fairway has it, so I'd never have to go to Hy-Vee. Makes me happy.
Like I said, I think both are good grocery stores. We have both in Harlan, which is only a short 15-mile drive. Obviously, there's multiple. Well, there's only one Fairway, but there's 2 Hy-Vees at Council Bluffs. There's multiple. I don't know if there's Fairways in Omaha. I've never really checked. I know there's Hy-Vees in Omaha. Good stores. Always. When I think Fairway, I think meat counter. I think good meat, good food. I think Hy-Vee's gotten to the point where they know they have to compete with Fairway in that. So I think they've kind of improved. I know Hy-Vee, it seems like they've taken some risk, like when they did the whole thing with the Wahlburgers or whatever, which I don't think has worked out. I think they've pulled out of that whole deal. But they're like, hey, we can do this, and let's try and let's see if it takes off. And had it took off, it looked like geniuses, but I just don't think it took off the way they thought it would.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I didn't really follow on it. I think they're still considered a Wahlburgers in Newton, but I haven't eaten there. Not in Newton. I've eaten in the Wahlburgers one in Des Moines, and my favorite one is I go there all the time in Vegas. So when I'm in Vegas, I make sure I hit a Wahlburgers. But other than that, I haven't stepped foot in one, at least not a local one.
Yeah.
I'm not even sure I've been to the one no, I haven't been to the one in Des Moines. The only one that, and it's closed now, if I remember right. But yeah, the only one I ate at's in Vegas. I ate there 5 times while I was there. It was pretty good.
Yeah. Like I said,
I just don't
I
see
think
it
Hy-Vee
working.
quit their affiliation with them, but it's, you got to appreciate companies that are willing to take a chance to try to build their brand up more than it already is.
So since we got on the meat topic, you and Steeler were having a pretty good conversation earlier that I think we probably should throw out there to help some small Iowa businesses anyway. But meat lockers. You guys were having discussions about meat lockers.
Yeah.
What's your favorite one and why?
What's my favorite meat locker?
Yeah, and why is it your favorite meat locker?
Well, so my favorite, and obviously I don't go there anymore because it's all the way across the state. My favorite meat locker is Leighton. It's kind of in between, I think, Oski and Pella, just south on 163. And I would go there at the time. They were the first place that I had seen that had the skinless bratwurst, which is the staple that I prefer the skinless bratwurst over the standard bratwurst. Yeah. I think yeah. I think they're spectacular, and I think meat lockers give a quality product. And I'm not trying to besmirch, stores like Hy-Vee, Fairway. Um, but one of the things we started talking about was the amount of cattle farms now that are bringing in, they're getting certified, and they're bringing in like their own butchers, and they're processing their own cows, and they're butchering their own cows, and they're selling their own cows. Um, so instead of, having to truck their cows to Greater Omaha and Council in Omaha to get slaughtered and then get cut up and then sent out to packing houses and stuff. There, when you raise cattle, you only get paid. They don't get as much money as you would think for a cow. I don't even know how they make a living raising cows, to be honest with you, because they just don't make that much.
And
And they
it's
kind of
honestly,
they
go ahead. Sorry, I keep forgetting we have a delay.
yeah. So it's kind of like they discussed in Yellowstone, where these the quadruple sixes or whatever the hell they called it started processing their own meat, and they sold their own meat from stores or from the internet sales and shit. So they kind of they cut out the processor, they cut out the retailer, and they just became an all-in-one step. So now all of a sudden that cow that say I don't know what the prices of cow are going for right now, but say you'd only get $1,500 for that cow, for reference, and that's when you take it in live, it gets processed, it gets broke down, and all of a sudden you're paying $15.99 a pound for steak. Now it's the farmer or the rancher or whatever the hell you want to call those people that is getting the money for that steak, and not these mega corporations. And don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to besmirch any of the local lockers that do that also. They bring in their cows and they sell their own cuts of meat at the lockers. I think that's great. I love it. But like, you have the big packing houses that make all the stuff and then send it out. They're the ones that are controlling the pricing. They're the ones that are only going to pay so much for the meat, and then they sell it for whatever they want. So
No, I totally agree with all of that. I used to get all my stuff from Malcolm Locker, and because of their beef jerky and stuff like that. And then I realized that if you get a deep freeze, you can end up buying like a half of a cow and getting it processed.
Yep.
It may be a lot up front, but in the long run, it's going to save you money by just putting it in the freezer. And honestly, the big chains, that's where all their meat come out of too, is a big freezer, and then they thaw it and cut it up for you and put it out on display. So it's the same process.
Right. Yeah. So locally we have Gresslocker, and they make fantastic beef jerky. Beef jerky is one of those things that's crazy how expensive it is when you really think about it. But they just make some spectacular beef jerky. So hats off to Gresslocker down here in Hancock.
Because of the drying of it, right?
Yep.
That's where most of it
so.
comes in. It's just paying for the long time in the oven.
Yeah, I think the last time I bought a pound of beef jerky down there at the locker, it was like $32 a pound or some shit. So
we definitely need to start supporting our local butchers a little bit more than what we are. I mean, Fairway's great. You get whatever the company sends you at Hy-Vee most of the time until they get their own packing in there. But if you can find a farmer and work out a deal on buying a cow and getting it to a locker, you're going to save money in the long run, in my opinion.
Well, and you're supporting the farmer better, in my opinion, or the cattle rancher or whatever the fuck they're called. Yeah. They're probably, it's not that they're wanting to rip you off, but they're probably getting a little bit better price selling it to you than they are selling it to the processor.
So, like I said, since we're on the meat topic, and we had one more conversation, I know it's getting pretty late out there in Flounder land. So I just wanted you to touch base a little bit with the last conversation you had with the Steeler and just throw it out there, because we always have a recipe for all that nice meat that you buy on from the butchers. Break down your your pellet grill and how
So,
in that process you were explaining to Earl about how you cook some stuff on that thing and why you like it so much.
so the pellet grill to me is great. It's got mine. It's got a digital readout. I can set it for whatever temperature I want it, and it has the like an internal thermometer or whatever the hell it be, a sensor that will tell it what the temperature actually is. And so if it's having trouble getting up to heat, it adds more pellets, you have more fire, it gets hotter. If it's starting to get too hot, it slows down the amount of pellets that are going into the grill, and lets it cool. Um, yeah, I'm a big fan of the pellet grills. People, there's some people that, oh, they're like, oh, you don't get enough smoke with those. Yeah, that you're probably right. I probably don't get as much smoke as you do, but I really like just being able to do the old Ron Popeil, set it and forget it. Especially like when I love to do pork loins. I get the big, pork loins out of like Hy-Vee for like $1.99 a pound. It's like a 10-pound pork loin, right? Cost me $20. I can eat on all that all week. So they take about 3 hours to do. They're spectacular.
So you were
So
saying that
yeah,
the original pellet grill that you had, you ended up selling to get your new one, and you kind of regret it because of one of the features. Can you enlighten us a little bit on that?
yes. So I had the tailgater. It was very mobile. It was nice. The legs folded up. I mean, don't get me wrong. Some bitch was not light, but it was light enough that I could get it thrown in the back of my truck and take it camping with me and stuff. Um, I got the Pit Boss XL right now. The son of a bitch is huge. I can fit 6 rack of ribs on it. Don't get me wrong, I love that. But I'm not putting that son of a bitch in the back of my truck and taking it to the campground. I can tell you that much. So it's one of those things. As far as camping goes, I do a lot more on the portable Blackstone flat top now. Maybe someday again I'll go back and buy another portable pellet grill, because it is nice to be able to just, like I said, set in and forget it on those things and not have to worry about it. But I don't know. I do so much more here at home than I ever do camping that I don't really miss it too much.
What was that one you were talking about that like your friend had or somebody had that it was hooked onto his hitch?
Yeah, so he has a Traeger, and it's a smaller Traeger that I don't know if he took the legs off of it or cut them off, but so he has it attached. So he has like a swing attachment on the back of his RV bumper, the big square bumper. And so that way he never takes it off of there. He just leaves it on there, covers it, can drive down the road with it. And when he goes to use it, he just swings it out away from the camper and is able to use it right there on the back of the camper. And because the camper is already level or close to level, because you're leveling your camper when you go to camping, means your grill's level too, which on a lot of campsites is kind of a pain in the ass sometimes.
So basically he took a Jeep tire swing for the back of a Jeep that goes into the bumper and put it on for a grill is basically what he did.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. And I'm sure that's a standard thing you can buy, but like I said, I'm sure that's a standard thing you can buy. I know they have all kinds of attachments to go to the bumpers on these campers. I have a portable, tank for emptying the black and gray tanks. Like say I'm camping at some place for like a week and a half, and I need to empty the tanks and I don't feel like taking the whole camper. I can just empty right in this tank, and then it's portable. And I have a bracket that holds onto that, and it just stays in the back of my camper. I never have to, it's not hanging out of my garage taking up room when I'm not camping. It's just on the back of the camper. So
speaking of, I mean, we went camping and we talked about stuff that we can take there. What is your number one thing that if you're going camping, you have to take with you, other than your portable pellet grill if you can get it in the back of your truck?
Well, for me, it's my pillow.
That's what I wanted to hear right there. That was it.
Yeah. It doesn't matter if I'm going to a hotel, I'm taking my pillow. If I'm going to my parents' house, I'm taking my pillow. I don't know, once you get to our age, It used to be you could jump off a loading dock 3.5 feet and just land like you got all fresh knees. You know, tuck and roll those bad boys if you get a little off center. At my
There's a
age now,
long connection from a pillow to jumping off of a loading dock.
well, and what
It's a bit different.
and like I said, 20, 25 years ago, no big deal. Now today, if I sneeze wrong, I throw my back out. So the thought of having the same pillow and having my head at the same angle every night is the goal. So it's pretty good.
I am so glad I'm not as old as you.
Yeah.
Yeah, at least body wise, we're the same age, but actually I'm older. Sadly.
Yeah.
But so you rent your camper out. So what did you think of the camper that we rented for the weekend?
So I would say this. I mean, at some point here sooner rather than later, next probably 3 to 5 years, me and my wife will probably be downsizing campers because we won't have kids with us. Right now we got a bunkhouse. But realistically, what I would say is when I say downsize, I don't want to downsize that much. It might actually be upsizing because, yeah, I might be losing square footage, but I'm going to have more usable square footage because I won't be taking the last 6 feet off the camper and making a separate bedroom. So as far as the camper goes that we were in last night, I mean, don't get me wrong. Let me make sure the camper is nice. If it was just me or if it was just you and your camper, I think it'd be fine. I don't like the fact that it doesn't have a bedroom, I guess you could say. The fact that the bed just lays up front. I would like some kind of walls or something there to separate that. I mean, other than that, that was my only thing that I looked at and was like, I don't know. I wish there was some more outlets. There was one on the ceiling above the table. There was one right by the front door, and there was one kind of by the bed up front. I was back there on the bunks, and there was no outlets, so I couldn't like plug my phone in at night and read my phone if I woke up and have it plugged in.
Yeah, so I ended up, it was clean, it was nice. I mean, for what what I paid for it.
Yes.
I ended up giving the guy and his wife a 5-star rating on Airbnb and said that they did work with that family emergency that I had really, really well and let my friend basically sign for the camper delivery. I mean, not many people are that trusting anymore. But
yeah.
I think for what I paid for it, it was nice. It was super clean. The beds came with pillows and blankets and more stuff than you can think. I looked through the cabinets. They had all of the cookery and all that stuff that we would have needed if we actually used the camper to cook and all that stuff. The bathroom looked clean. The toilet flushed fine. I mean, all in all, I think it was a decent camper, but size-wise, if we were going to do this again and bring more than just you and me, we would definitely need a bigger camper.
Yeah, well, and this was a situation that it didn't have any slides. It's amazing how much room a slide gives you. I know you're only sliding out 3 feet, probably right about 2.5, 3 feet when you slide a slide out. But if you think about it, say you are sliding out something that's 10 foot long and 3 foot wide, that's 30 extra square feet. And when you're talking about something that's 17 by 7, to get an extra, in this case, you'd probably be able to, even if you just did the dinette as a slide out, even if you took that 5 foot and were able to slide it out an extra 3 feet, that would feel huge in that size camper.
Oh, yeah.
So it's one of those things. And like I said, I'm not trying to besmirch the camper at all. It's very nice.
No, it was nice. It's just like I said, if it was just more than us, we would have had to, we would have been packed a little tight.
Yeah, and if I was a single guy, just kind of who liked to camp by myself, or say I was one of those construction guys that had to travel a lot, and I wanted my own space and not a hotel room, it would have been perfect. Everything you'd want, everything you need.
And it's one of those campers that if you're out there camping somewhere and your friends get drunk, you got the 2 cubby bunks just to let them sleep it off in before they go home.
Yeah.
At least to go along with
it was nice.
Your single guy theory.
Yeah, it was nice. Nice camper, looked nice, clean. Air conditioner worked. That was the most important thing.
There was one thing that I think should have been built into the camper. It's not something that I think that was their fault that it's not there, but there should have been like fans that blew fresh air back into the bunks.
Well, and so I think because I think it was only like a 17-foot camper. So like I know my camper, I have the central air conditioner in the middle of the room on the ceiling, and I can close those vents and it pushes the air back to the bedrooms on each side. I think because that camper was so wide open and the size it was, I don't think they felt they needed to do that. So
yeah, no, I get that. So to wrap her up today, why don't you just throw out where your camper's been, how far you're willing to travel, and where they can find you to rent yours if ever needed.
Well, my camper's on RV Easy, RVEZY. It's listed out of Avoca. Most nights, I think I pick $125 a night for rentals. And then I have add-ons. There's the cleaning fee. You can pay me to dump it. I'm going to clean it out regardless whether you dump it out or not, but I appreciate the extra $40. I actually have coolers that are on there that you can pick a cooler and I'll leave you a cooler for to use per trip, and I deliver. But honestly, I'm about done renting it out this year. Just picked it up today. I dropped it off at my buddy's place. I'll be picking it up for Rock and Row, and then I'm going to drop it back off at my buddy's place, and then I'm taking it to someone for the state fair. They're using it for state fair and Clay County fair, and I got another person using it for Labor Day. Other than that, I think I'm done renting it out for the year because I'm going to have really by the time after state fair, there's about 2 to 3 weeks before Labor Day. And my guess is we'll probably take her out camping during that time. So I don't want to lose any more of my own personal camping time for renting it out, really, when I think we've rented it out enough this year. I'm very happy with how it's gone this year. But yeah, now when it's not already rented out at this point going forward, I'll probably be in it. So
you can find it on RV Easy. Are you going to try putting it on Airbnb? Because I just found out that's where I rented mine through. I didn't know you could rent campers on Airbnb.
Yeah, I think I'm just going to stick with RV Easy. The other reason is I'm literally one acceptance away from being what they call a super host, which means like my camper will be at the top of the list when people look. And had I not deleted the app like 3 years ago, I downloaded it and I put it on there and I deleted the app thinking that I got rid of my account, and I didn't actually get rid of the account. So I had several requests that I never responded to. So that's the only thing that's hurting me. Otherwise, I'd be one of their, whatever the hell it's called, super
host.
Yeah, super host. And I even called him one time. I'm like, hey, can you help me out with this? Can you get rid of these 2 requests? I thought I had deleted the app, actually. I thought I had deleted the listing, and I did not. And they're like, no, but it'll eventually take itself off. It'll eventually get there. And I'm like, well, that's helpful. Thank you. Like I said, I'm like one more acceptance away from becoming a super host, and then my listing will be at the top.
And that's definitely would help your renting it out, I'm sure. So we'll finish it up with the quote that we got from the guy the guy and lady that we rented from. We apparently are great tenants, and they would gladly rent to us again.
Well,
I never in a million years would have thought people would have thought that we were great 25 years ago, but I'm glad we are now. No hockey rules got played during golf.
Nope, not one.
No feelers got hurt all weekend.
Nope.
And we made friends.
We did. It was a good weekend.
So I'm definitely looking forward to Rock and Row. But until then, you have a lovely evening, sir, and I will see you next week on another podcast.
You too, buddy. We'll catch you later.
All right.
It's called Frosty Dinghy, and I'm the Dolphin, and you're the Flounder.
Well, I guess. I think it should be Dr. Parker, but